Hey guys, MaxLPQueen here, and welcome to my TERA RK-9 guide. We just entered the dungeon, so as you can see, the cutscene has started, and I thought I would go ahead and watch it anyway. Mostly because I am running through all these dungeons for the first time on my gunner. Because as you can see over to the right side of the screen, I have a bunch of quests that I got at the end of the game that I have not been able to get finished with. Mostly because my gear was super underleveled and I wasn't able to go through all the dungeons. So I managed to find a very nice person online who decided to help me run through these dungeons and basically carry me through them. Because they are pretty difficult. They're some of the higher level dungeons. So I thought we would start out with the RK-9 and then continue on from there. So this was like an all-in-one thing. This happened like pretty much the same day. I finished, I think, about all of the quests. So we're gonna run through them, and I'm going to basically show you probably the wrong way to do it while telling you the right way, if that makes any sense. Oh, and also if you can't hear me very well, yeah, I forgot to turn down the volume on the game until after the first boss. So in the second boss, I'm pretty sure I remember to turn down the volume, but until we get to that next boss, we're gonna have some pretty loud audio, and it's gonna sound completely weird. And I have no idea why. Mostly because I cannot figure it out. If someone could tell me why, that would be great. Go ahead and just tell me why it sounds so freaking weird. I don't know why the audio sounds this way. Like when it gets to a certain level or something, I guess it gets too loud for OBS or whatever. I don't know. It just gets too loud, and then it sounds so distorted and weird, and I have no idea how to fix it. Everything that I've looked at online hasn't really helped out too much either, so if you know what I'm talking about and you can help me out with this, that'll be great. But we already have him down to 30%, so there really isn't much that I could tell you about this boss. I do know that I think I think they've messed with the RK-9 dungeon a little bit, and they've kind of made it a little bit easier, because whenever this boss does that thing where he gets ready to shoot off the bombs in the air, the bombardment, I think, or something like that. Yeah, these little bombardment things where he throws them up in the air. You had to run and jump off the edge. And I started to do that in the beginning, but I didn't because nobody else did. So I figured since they might have like made the dungeon a little bit easier or something, that you don't have to do that anymore. I don't know. I got super confused as to why nobody was jumping off the edge, because normally that's what you do. You just jump off the side of the thing and you'll fall for a little while, and then you'll land right back down onto the platform, and you'll avoid that attack. But we didn't have to do that once, so either I have a pretty buffed team, or we just didn't have to do it. So I literally have no idea, so don't ask me. Like I said, I'm basically going to show you probably the wrong way to go through the dungeon, but at least it's a run through, so you'll kind of get the gist of like how to do the dungeon, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but this is the second part. This isn't the second boss, but this is the second part of the dungeon. So you're going to go through here, and you want to avoid those lasers, because if you touch them, you're going to go back to the start. You need to go to all the corners and deactivate those little thingy-bobbers. And obviously, I guess a couple people can go. Not everybody has to go. As you can see, I think some of us actually stayed in the middle. But I thought it would help out. Go over there and deactivate at least one, and help out just a little bit. So we're going to head over to the second boss here. Hexapelion, I believe is his name. I don't know. Definitely not the best when it comes to pronouncing things, but this is the second boss. As you can see, I have a bunch of fish in my inventory as well, because I was doing a bunch of fishing while we were waiting in queue, so I thought it would be good to actually do that. And then I realized I'm probably going to run out of inventory space, so I should probably just make sure that I should probably make sure that I save some space in my bank area. I didn't see it, I did click off the screen, but I don't know, did I change the volume of the game or did I not change it? Because I feel like I probably didn't, which could be something that I do, because you know me, I definitely am known to make mistakes like this and just continue to go on and make them. But this boss to me is actually the hardest one of the dungeon. I'm not gonna lie, only because those big giant thingamabobs that drop down onto the floor like that will literally crush you into dust and you will die in an instant. And don't worry, I will definitely be dying a bunch to those things. So if you want to know what happens when you get hit with one, just wait. Don't worry, I'm gonna get hit by one. Spoiler alert, because I am terrible at this dungeon. Basically, I'm terrible at all the high level dungeons, and that's nothing on, like, me, I guess. It's just, I haven't done them enough. Like I said, I was not geared enough to go through these dungeons. Actually, the first time I ran through this one, it wasn't even on my gunner to begin with. It was actually on my Valkyrie. And that's when I realized that I'm a terrible Valkyrie. I cannot play the Valkyrie at all. Because we went through the dungeon, we got to the first boss, and we basically all died, and yeah, we went splat just like that. All of us on the first boss, because nobody knew the mechanics, and nobody was doing any damage because they didn't know the mechanics, and the person who actually did know the mechanics, well, they were getting on to the lowest DPS, which just so happened to be moi, yes, me, the Valkyrie. So, yeah, that's when I decided that I was a terrible Valkyrie and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and get on a class that I actually know a little bit about, which is my gunner class. So, he has a few AoE attacks that you need to avoid, but it's pretty straightforward. The only thing I don't really understand is that little yellow orb thing. And I have this pulled up here on Essential Mana, the mechanics and stuff of the dungeon, because I was going to actually go through them and read through them with you guys, but considering that we get through these dungeons super quick and we run through them, I don't even think I would even have time to read through all the mechanics. I think I'm probably going to put the Essential Mana website in the description of all of these dungeon runs, so you guys can have the dungeon run with my gunner, but you can also see the mechanics as well, and you can read through them while you're watching the video, I guess, so it would help you out some when you see them, because it does kind of make it a little bit easier. The only thing that it says on here is that he's going to throw an electric spear to a single random target, and you don't go near the spear, or it's going to shock you there until you die. So he'll shoot out 4 lasers, 2 perpendicular lines, and one of them will always aim at the boss. And then you want to try to place the spear so that it's not too close to the boss, but not so far away that you won't make it back in time to avoid the big donut attack. So that's pretty much it for him, as far as difficult mechanics go. But we do have the final boss here, as I'm totally talking over the thingy-majig. What's this called? A cutscene? Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called a cutscene. But, yeah, he just died, I would say. I would kind of guess. I don't know. Oh, I didn't even mention as well. Actually, you know what? I don't think this was one of them, because there is no thing on the screen. As you can see, that I didn't make it in time into the dungeon because I was watching the cutscene, so I had to have the priest pull me in. Of course, they've already halfway killed the boss, and I didn't make it in because I was watching the freaking cutscene. You know, I think that's kind of awkward and weird that they do that. I think if someone is watching the cutscene, that you shouldn't be allowed to go into the boss, because that can lead to a bit of problems. I know that it shows like a little bit of a, what's it called? A little, question quotation mark thing above your head and a yellow one showing that you're watching the cutscene. But half the time people skip those, and usually for me, I like to watch them at least one time so I can kind of know what's going on story-wise. I mean, I think when you're level 65 and you get to the end game, the story doesn't matter too much anymore, but sometimes I like to watch the cutscenes just to see exactly what we're dealing with here. Alright, so we have the final boss here. This is RK-9. And I don't know anything about this boss, obviously. Like I said, this is going to be a run-through of this dungeon with me showing you probably the complete wrong things to do, but at least you'll know what not to do. But he's pretty simple, honestly. If you keep him one way and your DPS is in the back, you can see all I'm doing is straight DPSing. Avoiding those attacks when he turns around, avoiding the red AoEs on the ground, and just straight up pulverizing him, because if you can get through these dungeons super quickly with a really strong team, then you don't have to worry about anything. But I think it's pretty simple though. A lot of the times the things that are on the screen will tell you exactly what to do. So it's not like you're completely in the dark. It's just I usually never read those things that pop on the screen because I'm so focused on trying to DPS and do as much damage as possible that I don't read through what's on the screen. So yeah, my bad. But basically that's it. That is it for the RK-9 dungeon. Look at me! I did it. I'm so cute. And apparently he's not dead. But he got his little baby destroyed, unfortunately. So that's going to do it for the RK-9 run through for you guys. Super simple dungeon if you know what you're doing. Like I said, I will put the Essential Mana link. Hopefully I'll remember to put it in the description. And you can read through the mechanics for yourself on how to go through the dungeon. And then you can see for yourself what to do in a DPS situation. But that's going to be it for me. And I guess I will be seeing you guys in the next run through.